he immediately, where he was, began to work for the Lord. He didn't wait. He didn't go seek out the preacher, or somebody and say, well, I don't really know where I'm supposed to do or where I'm supposed to go. It may be that God wants to use me in Africa, as a missionary, or He might want me to go to the far north in Canada with Nanook of the North or something. I just don't know. I need to search out those things. No. What he did with Saul was he said, hey, you've been enlightened. You have been saved for a purpose. That purpose is to serve me. Start now. Start where you are. It's a message for you and I. Start now. Start where we are. Where are we? We're on Bowl Springs Road. We look out there and, hey, there are a few houses and there's a few cows and, well, not as many cows anymore. There used to be a lot of cows out around here, a few horses and so forth. We start where we are. I believe you're here as a divine appointment. I don't believe you just showed up here today. I don't believe you did. I believe that God has you here tonight for a purpose. Maybe to examine where you are and what is it He wants you to do. The first thing I want you to notice is that you start right now where you are. Where are you? Where are you at home? Everybody here has got a family. There are people that live in our homes. We have many of us, you get on up my age, you got not just children and grandchildren, but you got great-grands, don't you, Nick? I got great-grands. One of these days, if the Lord grants me long enough life, I got some of those great-grands that are moving on up. I might even get a chance to see some great grace someday. Do you know that's my responsibility? And my great-granddaughter that was up here with me earlier, little Nikki. Little Nikki used to be like that. Little Nikki used to do that. Now it's a little Olivia. Nikki's my granddaughter. Olivia's my great-grand. It's good that she came and seeked me out. I want her to be comfortable with me. You know why? Because I want her to know that I'm living for something bigger than just me. I'm living for her and my grandbabies and my children. But number one, I'm living for the Lord.
That's right.
I want, when I leave this old world, that through those that are my offspring down the line, that I left something with them that tell them in their heart, Papa had something here with us, God, man. I want what he had. And so, are we working on our families? Do we want our offspring to know? Did you know that they listen to you? I know you say, nah, they won't listen to me. I used to think my children would listen to me. Hey, they're listening. They may be pushing back or so forth. But as they get older, you get smarter in their eyes. Don't give up. Don't give up. You got neighbors. You got people you work with. You got people that you go to school with. And then you come to church and then you got some nut like this up here. Joe's always saying, hey, we got to get out in the community. We're going to have these yard sales. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to go knock on doors. We're going to give away fruit. Why do we want to throw away $1,000 on this community? They're not going to show up. Guess what? They will. They will. They may not show up the first time or the second time you have contact with them. You know why? Because they want to see if you're real. What are these people up to? But I can tell you this. I believe there are divine appointments out there just like you're here tonight on a divine appointment. Because God has something for you to do. And it could be that some things that are said here tonight might spur you to be involved in the ministry of this church. Maybe in Easter time when we get out and we get out of that community again, that God might impress on your heart, I need to be out there. Maybe I don't need to be knocking on the doors. The younger folk maybe need to do that. But I can drive a vehicle. I can pray for them while they're out there. I can go get Patrick if a dog shows up and let him go.
All right now.
Let the dog get him while the others go up and deliver the goods, you see. There's something to be done. You see, and I believe that there is a challenge to us to reach the community just like Paul's challenge was to reach the community. Right where he was. He started right where he was. Now I've got a bunch of illustrations. I want to throw out just a couple to you. I was pastor over here at Auburn Chapel not too many years ago. I didn't think it was too many years ago. Gosh, it's been about 25 or so. But I remember that we went over there and we didn't have anybody in there. The first Sunday that I was there, it was my family and little old Randall Bridges, who's an adult now. And the next week, Randall brought his family with him. His brothers and sisters and his mom and dad. By the way, they're not here tonight, but it's Sheila Bridges, who is now coming here, was the first family to come. The second family was a lady and her husband, Jackie Sturgeon. Is Jackie here tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Jackie has come and started being regular. I guess they got falcon fever or something. But I can tell you that both of those families came because we knocked on doors, we took them a gift, we gave them fruit, we gave them Easter baskets and all that. And guess what? They came to see what we were all about, and before we knew it, they were responding as family, and they have been part of a church family ever since. And they heard that Joey and Brian were co-pastoring here and starting new work in Bowl Springs, and guess what? They showed up. They want to be a part of it because they remember what happened when it started with nothing and grew. Now let me tell you what happened to Auburn Chapel. It's not Auburn Chapel anymore. They grew bigger and they got more sophisticated and they bought a bunch of land, and now they're called First Baptist Church of Bear Creek, and they're running about 300 or 400 on Sunday. So it started out small, but it worked because there were people that responded to God and His work and calling, reaching the community around us. Dale, you know, I told you I was going to mention Pam. You tell her that she wasn't here. She got talked about. Pam grew up in a church that I know very well, Forest Hills Baptist Church in Scottsdale. Forest Hills built a church on a bus ministry. Now, bus ministry is not a cool thing nowadays because there's reasons for it, but back then they hit it just right. Forest Hills started off with an idea, a small church. Forest Hills became the largest bus ministry in the world. I mean, in the world. They had hundreds of buses. They had more buses than the DeKalb County school system had. They were reaching people and reaching kids, and they had a vision, you see. They were reaching the community right where they were. And the last thought, I got to move along because I've got to bring this to a conclusion. But you see, the third principle is that it's incumbent upon us to change the world. And if you put Acts 16, 9, and 10 up there, which ought to be our next scripture. Here's what Paul did. Now you remember, Paul encountered God. He started serving right where he was in Damascus, and then he went to Jerusalem, and he tried to serve right there and so forth. But God had something in store for him that began to unfold itself with him. And here's what happened to him. During the night, Paul had a vision of a man of Macedonia standing and begging him, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." After Paul had seen the vision, We got ready at once to leave for Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them. You see, Paul had already started visiting the churches that we know in Asia Minor, like Ephesus and some of those that we were familiar with there. But the doors had not opened for him to go further into the Greek nation, into Macedonia. And the Lord said, Paul, I don't want you hanging around here. You've started enough churches here in Asia Minor. I want you to go on over to Macedonia. And he opened the door. And what happened? In a vision and a dream, he saw the people of Macedonia saying, come over to Macedonia and help us. There are those that God has given a vision to reach the people